The teasers dropped, the fandom went silent, and then, like, in an instant, the entire K-pop world was just turned upside down.
Oh yeah, complete chaos.
You probably saw the headline, "They're canceling it. BTS 2026 reunion in serious danger."
The thumbnails alone were just pure panic.
Right. If you spent any time near an internet connection earlier this year, you could not escape it.
I mean, for a moment there, the whole global fandom just collectively held its breath.
Welcome to StarScope K-Report. Join Eric and Minji as we ride the Hallyu wave, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates.
From internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
And today, we are doing a massive deep dive. We're looking at a stack of sources that outline what is arguably the most complex, high-stakes moment in modern music history.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Because, for this brief period, the billion-dollar comeback of the biggest group on the planet after a grueling 4-year hiatus was completely overshadowed.
It was wild. We're talking unprecedented corporate scandals.
Legal scrutiny.
Yeah, and just fierce fan backlash.
So to get to the bottom of this, we're pulling from a ton of different documentation. We've got official announcements straight from Weverse.
Right, and we've got that deep investigative reporting from Dispatch.
Plus corporate financial breakdowns from Seoul's and even global coverage from the Korea Times and Gulf News.
So our mission for this deep dive is to try and unpack this massive paradox. Like, how does a historic cultural triumph, their 2026 album, Arirang, collide so violently with a $1.5 billion corporate meltdown at HYBE?
Yeah, their own parent company.
Exactly. And beyond the initial shock value, what does this say about the fragile architecture of the global Hallyu wave?
So we need to start by looking at the sheer scale of the comeback itself, right? Because that sets the baseline for everything.
Yeah, you have to understand the hype. By June 2025, all 7 members had finally finished their mandatory military service.
Right. The hiatus was over.
Done. The anticipation had been building for literally years at that point. And then on January 4th, 2026...
I remember exactly where I was.
Right. Big Hit Music officially drops the announcement for their 5th studio album, Arirang, along with this massive world tour.
And let me just pause you on the announcement itself, because the sources mention it dropped on Weverse. For anyone listening who maybe just follows Western pop and isn't super deep into the whole K-pop ecosystem, what makes Weverse so significant?
Okay, so Weverse is HYBE's proprietary fan community platform.
Right.
Instead of relying on, like, Twitter or Instagram to break the news, HYBE built their own walled garden. It's this direct-to-consumer pipeline.
Where fans are buying merch, watching exclusive content.
Exactly. So when that Arirang notice dropped, it wasn't just some boring press release. It was a direct broadcast to millions of highly engaged users all at once.
It just creates this immediate centralized explosion of hype.
Oh, completely.
And the numbers that followed were just staggering. According to the reports, when Arirang dropped on March 20th, it sold nearly 4 million copies in its first 24 hours alone.
Mind-blowing. And on Spotify, it generated 110 million first-day streams. It took up, like, the top 14 spots on the global top 50 chart.
Yeah, and the lead single, Swim, debuted at #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100, but the sources also mention it achieved an all-kill across global charts.
Yes, the legendary all-kill.
For the uninitiated, what is the actual metric for an all-kill?
So in the Korean music industry, an all-kill is this highly specific, super coveted achievement. It essentially means your song has simultaneously hit #1 on both the real-time and daily charts of every major domestic music streaming platform.
So we're talking Melon, Genie, Bugs.
Exactly, all of them at the same time. And achieving that while also dominating Western metrics like the Billboard Hot 100, it proves this really rare dual dominance.
Right, they were conquering the global market without losing any grip on their domestic fans.
Which is incredibly hard to do.
It is. But that brings us to this fascinating behind-the-scenes conflict detailed in a report by Dispatch. Because behind all those massive numbers, there was actually a serious creative battle over the identity of the album itself.
Yeah, this part is wild. HYBE's A&R team was heavily pressuring the group to use English lyrics.
Right. And I mean, from a purely corporate perspective, the logic is mathematical. They're looking at these massive international markets, the US, the UK, Europe, and calculating that English lyrics guarantee heavier radio play.
Yeah, and broader casual consumption.
But the members of BTS pushed back. Dispatch quoted them as insisting, and I quote, We need to include more Korean lyrics, even if just in the rap.
They really wanted to maintain their linguistic and cultural identity.
It reminds me of a star athlete who reaches the absolute pinnacle of their sport, right?
Yeah.
And then the franchise owners pull them into a boardroom and demand a more commercial playing style just to sell jerseys overseas.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like.
And the athlete says, no, my hometown style is what got me here, and I'm not changing my form for the merch stand.
Especially considering the album is literally named Arirang, which is arguably the most famous traditional Korean folk song in existence.
Right, and tracks like Body to Body even featured traditional Korean percussion samples.
So that cultural grounding was vital. And when this dispatch report leaked, the domestic Korean fans, the K-netz, they rallied so fiercely behind the group.
Oh, the backlash against HYBE was intense.
Super intense. They directed so much anger at the company for trying to sanitize the group's roots, while totally praising the members for acting as this, firewall against corporate homogenization.
And speaking of comebacks and staying connected, if you love staying updated on your favorites, make sure you subscribe to StarScope K-Report. We've got even bigger scoops ahead.
Yes, definitely hit that subscribe button so you never miss a KT update.
Okay, so moving on. If every creative choice is viewed as this heavy statement of national identity, the personal lives of these members must be under just an agonizing microscope.
Oh, absolutely.
And that pressure cooker environment seems to be the bridge to the darker side of this timeline, because the road to that March 2026 release was heavily paved with personal turbulence.
Yeah, and that YouTube headline about the reunion being in danger didn't come from nowhere. The most visible crack in the foundation happened in August 2024 involving Suga.
Right.
He was caught driving an e-scooter near his home in Seoul under the influence of alcohol.
And looking at the facts reported here, we have to be clear, this wasn't a minor infraction. His blood alcohol level was reportedly nearly triple the legal limit.
Yeah, it was a very serious incident.
It resulted in a crash, a fine of around $13,000, and a public apology.
And the fallout was immediate. Protest trucks started circling HYBE's headquarters in the Yongsan district.
Right, with those huge LED messages.
Exactly, demanding that he be permanently removed from the group.
Now, I want to look at the framing of this for a second, because in some of the commentary surrounding this event, there's a tendency to write off the backlash as just toxic fandom behavior, or, as the sources note, rival fandoms fueling the fire just to damage the group reputation.
Yeah, that's a big part of the narrative.
But regardless of who rented the protest trucks, a DUI with a blood alcohol level that high is a severe public safety issue anywhere in the world. So how much of this was a genuine accountability crisis versus orchestrated fandom warfare?
Well, it is a really crucial distinction, because the legal and moral severity of the act itself is undeniable, right? It warranted a heavy public reckoning.
Absolutely.
But the mechanism of the backlash, the coordinated trucks, the targeted viral campaigns, that is where the unique nature of K-pop comes into play.
Because the industry essentially operates on this illusion of perfection.
Right. And when a member shatters that illusion, even with a serious real-world offense, the reaction is often weaponized by rival group supporters to destabilize the agency's stock and market share. Yeah, so it becomes less about the ethics of the DOI and more about a strategic strike against a competitor.
Which is just a wild way to look at it. And that strategic scrutiny wasn't just limited to legal issues.
No, not at all.
The sources detail a string of controversies that feel incredibly invasive. You had RM, J-Hope, and V facing severe online backlash simply for attending the Love Your W 2025 breast cancer charity event.
Yeah, critics were claiming the gala's party atmosphere was inappropriate.
And then Jimin was dealing with a massive internet frenzy over resurfaced dating rumors with Song Dae-eun.
Right. And individually, these events range from serious to completely trivial.
Yeah.
But collectively, they illustrate just the suffocating nature of their reality.
Yeah, I mean, they are in their 30s, yet they're still subjected to behavioral policing that expects them to act like monastic figures.
Totally. And that context makes that December 2025 live broadcast by RM feel incredibly heavy.
Oh, the confession.
Yeah. He candidly confessed to the audience that he had considered disbanding the team tens of thousands of times.
And when the leader of the group is publicly admitting to that level of fatigue, it really forces you to reevaluate the entire reunion in danger narrative.
Exactly. It wasn't just about scheduling conflicts. It was a profound psychological test.
Right. It highlights the real human toll of the Hallyu Wave.
Yeah. These 7 individuals have spent over a decade acting as the primary economic engine for a multi-billion-dollar company.
While also basically serving as unofficial cultural ambassadors for South Korea.
Right. So RM's confession reveals that the friction wasn't just external, it was deeply internal. The fact that they managed to push through that exhaustion to deliver a record-breaking album like Arirang is just a testament to their resilience.
Okay, so we have the band navigating this brutal personal scrutiny, fighting for their creative soul, and ultimately succeeding on the global stage.
Yeah.
But wait till you hear what the financial analysts uncovered next. Because while the artists are holding up the cultural weight, the corporate floorboards underneath them are literally collapsing.
It's crazy.
This brings us to the $1.5 billion corporate earthquake at HYBE.
Yeah, this is where the story shifts from, like, cultural analysis to hard financial reality. Because while Arirang was breaking world records in Q1 of 2026, HYBE's stock price plummeted by 24%.
Okay, I need to understand the mechanics of this because it sounds completely counterintuitive.
Fully does.
How does a company's stock crash by nearly a quarter of its value when its primary product, an album by the biggest group in the world, is selling 4 million copies in a single day?
Well, the crash had absolutely nothing to do with the music.
Really?
Yeah, it's everything to do with the boardroom. HYBE's founder and chairman, Bang Si-hyuk, became the target of a massive financial investigation.
Wow.
Authorities were probing allegations that he misled early investors prior to HYBE's highly publicized IPO in 2020.
And the sources outline some incredibly serious allegations here. Beyond just misleading investors, there were accusations of undisclosed side payments tied to post-IPO profits.
Yeah, and even a whistleblower report alleging that 12 billion won had been moved through cryptocurrency transfers connected to his network.
Which is just an insane amount of money.
And the investigation escalated rapidly.
Yeah.
By July 2025, Seoul police actually executed a raid on HYBE's headquarters.
Just picture that, the biggest K-pop company getting raided.
Right. And then by April 2026, which was right as the Arirang hype was peaking, police formally requested an arrest warrant for Bang Si-hyuk.
And the details surrounding that warrant request are fascinating. It was ultimately rejected by prosecutors, but Seoul's reported heavy rumors that the U.S. Embassy in Seoul actually intervened.
Yeah, the logic being that Bang had to be physically present to manage the logistics of the massive BTS United States stadium tour.
Right.
And detaining him could have derailed literally hundreds of millions of dollars in international commerce.
I mean, whether that rumor is entirely factual or not, it illustrates the sheer scale of the capital at stake here. And this legal jeopardy triggered a phenomenon in Korean finance known as owner risk.
Yes, owner risk.
I have seen that term used in business reporting regarding South Korea. Does the market literally apply a mathematical discount to a stock just because the founder is in legal trouble? Like, how does that actually function?
It functions as a tangible risk premium.
Yeah.
So historically, this concept applied primarily to the cables.
Like Samsung or Hyundai.
Exactly, the massive family-controlled conglomerates. If the controlling family member is facing prison time or a major scandal, institutional investors assume that corporate governance will suffer.
Right, strategic decisions get delayed.
Exactly. And the company might face regulatory retaliation.
Yeah.
So to compensate for taking on that extra risk, investors demand a higher potential return, which immediately drives the current share price down.
So applying owner risk to an entertainment company is a massive shift.
Oh, a monumental shift.
Yeah.
It proves that global capital no longer views K-pop as just some niche cultural export.
HYBE is being evaluated with the same brutal financial metrics as a heavy manufacturing conglomerate.
Yes. If the architect of the company is facing an arrest warrant, major funds will just liquidate their positions, regardless of how many records the lead act is breaking.
That is wild. And looking at HYBE's Q1 2026 financial report, the numbers get even stranger.
Yeah, they do.
Because on paper, the company reported record revenue, up 18% year over year.
Right.
But their operating profit wasn't just down, it was a massive loss of 196.6 billion won, which is roughly 130 million US dollars.
Yeah, a huge loss.
Walk me through the accounting here. How do you lose over $100 million when your revenue is up and your flagship artists are selling millions of albums?
Okay, so there were two massive anchors dragging down the profit. The first was a series of heavy write-downs on HYBE's aggressive expansion efforts in the United States, which frankly hadn't yielded the expected returns.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the primary culprit was a staggering 255 billion won stock bonus expense.
Break that down for me. If it's a stock bonus, meaning shares are being given away, how does that drain actual operating profit?
Well, Si-hyuk personally donated a large portion of his own shares to HYBE employees.
Okay.
And even though it is a non-cash transaction the company isn't writing a check from its bank account. Standard accounting rules dictate that the value of those shares must be recognized as compensation expense on the income statement.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this massive one-time paper expense artificially wiped out the quarterly operating profit entirely.
That is brutal timing. And to make matters worse, HYBE was also dealing with severe brand damage from the 2024 conflict involving Adore and Minheejin.
Yes, we definitely need to provide some context there because that was a defining industry story just a couple of years prior.
For sure. Adore is a sublabel under the HYBE umbrella created by Minheejin.
Right, who is the mastermind behind the incredibly successful girl group New Jeans.
And in 2024, this massive legal and public relations war broke out between her and HYBE's central executive team over control of Adore.
And the conflict was incredibly ugly. It exposed bitter internal politics, accusations of corporate espionage.
Yeah, and it raised serious questions among Western critics about K-pop's labor practices and just the treatment of young idols in general.
Exactly. So going into 2026, the market was looking at a company dealing with the fallout of internal label warfare, massive U.S. write-downs, an accounting anomaly wiping out profits, and a founder facing potential jail time.
It is quite literally a perfect storm of structural instability.
And the investors realized a terrifying reality. Despite years of aggressive acquisitions and attempts to diversify their portfolio, the entire multi-billion-dollar financial architecture of HYBE still rested almost entirely on the shoulders of 7 men who had just spent 4 years away in the military.
That is a lot of pressure. But later in the episode, we'll talk about the shocking plot twist in this drama that nobody saw coming.
It's so good.
Because eventually, the sheer cultural gravity of BTS overpowered all of that corporate chaos.
Yeah, it really did.
On April 22, 2026, a massive announcement completely stabilized the panic. FIFA revealed that BTS would headline the 2026 World Cup final halftime show, performing alongside Madonna and Shakira.
And the market reaction was instantaneous. HYBE's stock jumped 7.2% on the news.
Just like that.
Financial analysts refer to this as BTS terminal expansion. It's a realization that the group's global economic potential, particularly regarding stadium touring and these mega events, hasn't even peaked yet.
Wow. So that potential was strong enough to outmuscle the owner risk that was dragging down the stock.
Exactly.
It is a fascinating dynamic. It's like the boardroom catches fire, the smoke reaches the stage, but the sheer wattage of the performance keeps the building from collapsing.
That is exactly it.
Yeah.
And that is the core takeaway from these sources. This whole thing is a masterclass case study in what happens when human beings and the art they generate are transformed into the foundational assets of a corporate empire.
Right.
It demonstrates that even the most powerful cultural phenomena on Earth are still incredibly vulnerable to corporate gravity and financial engineering.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder, something that was somewhat buried in the economic reports, but feels incredibly relevant to this whole power dynamic.
Well, this is the best part.
On January 1st, 2026, sweeping new Korean contract reforms were enacted by the government. These laws were specifically designed to protect artists, ensure transparent accounting, and completely dismantle the remnants of the old restrictive slave contract systems that used to define the industry.
That timing is just incredibly potent.
Right. Think about the board as it was set in early 2026. You have these new, highly artist-friendly labor laws officially on the books.
Yeah.
You have a corporate founder in Si-hyuk who has been severely weakened by police raids and legal scandals. And you have a financial market that just explicitly proved HYBE's stock price and survival are almost entirely dependent on BTS's touring revenue.
It completely shifts the leverage.
Exactly. Could this supposed crisis actually have been a Trojan horse?
Oh, absolutely.
With the company in a state of vulnerability and the law now firmly on the side of the artists, this moment of chaos might have given BTS the ultimate leverage to permanently shift the balance of power.
Yeah, it opens the door for them to dictate the future of their own legacy.
Your touring schedule.
Their creative output, entirely on their own terms, free from corporate mandates.
Maybe those panicked headlines had it completely backward. They weren't in danger of being canceled. They were in the middle of taking over.
I love that theory.
You've been listening to StarScope K-Report, where Eric and Minji bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.